There's a sound to loneliness. And back in 1976, it sounded exactly like this. It's the sound of a city and the sound of a mind just slowly coming apart at the seams. This is the sound of Taxi Driver, and today we're going to dig into how this film became one of the most powerful psychological portraits in all of cinema.
So yeah, we are talking about Martin Scorsese's absolute masterpiece, Taxi Driver. And look, this isn't just a movie, right? It's a full-on deep dive into the mind of a fractured man. So the real question is, how on earth did Scorsese manage to capture the slow, terrifying unraveling of a human being so perfectly on screen?
Well, the answer starts right here. Scorsese does something brilliant. He doesn't just show us a character, he literally traps us inside his head. For the whole movie, we are locked in with the intense, isolated perspective of Travis Bickle. Everything we're about to see is filtered right through his gaze. And wow, what a gaze it is! This is a direct quote from Travis's diary, and it's our first real taste of his worldview. It is just pure disgust for the world around him, mixed with this dangerous self-righteousness. See, he's not just an observer, he's a judge.
So to really understand the man, you gotta understand his world. Let's start with this idea of urban alienation.
Welcome to mid-70s New York City. You can almost feel it. Steam rising from the streets, shadows everywhere. It's a city that feels both alive and at the same time deeply, deeply sick. Scorsese paints this gritty, neo-noir landscape of total decay.
And here's the key. This city isn't just a backdrop. It's a giant mirror reflecting Travis's own internal rot. It's the perfect stage for a guy who feels completely, utterly detached from the very society he drives through every single night.
So, who is this guy? The basics. He's 26. He's a Vietnam vet, which is absolutely crucial context for his drama. His insomnia forces him to work at night, and his taxi becomes his entire world. He's really a product of his time, kind of like a ghost haunting the city streets.
Okay, now let's get into the how. Section 2, A View from the Cab. We're going to look at the specific cinematic tricks Scorsese uses to lock us inside this fractured point of view, making us see the world exactly as Travis does.
This is the thing you have to remember the whole time you're watching. We can't trust what we're seeing, because Travis is what you'd call an unreliable narrator. Scorsese is constantly blurring the line between what's real and what's just happening inside Travis's head. The whole film kind of exists in this subjective, almost dreamlike state.
And Scorsese shows us this perfectly. On one side, you see the street life as it is. On the other, you see it through the rain-streaked windshield of his cab. It's all blurred, distorted. You realize his taxi is like a protective shield, this little bubble that lets him judge everyone without ever having to actually engage.
And he builds this feeling with a really specific set of tools. We get constant point of view shots, so we're seeing what he sees. He uses this mesmerizing, almost beautiful slow motion whenever Travis fixates on what he calls the scum. And just look at the colors, those sickly reds and oranges that just bleed through the entire film, symbolizing danger and Travis's building rage.
But before the violence, there's one last, desperate attempt to connect with someone. This next section shows us the psychological turning point, the moment where rejection basically seals his fate for good. He lays eyes on Betsy, and to him, she's not just a person, she's an angel. She's this symbol of purity in a normal life that he can only dream about. He sees her working on a political campaign, this clean, organized world, and he just becomes obsessed with this vision of her.
But here's the problem. He is so fundamentally broken, so completely alienated that he has no idea how to interact with her world. So on their date, where does he take her? A porn theater. Why? Because that's his world. It is the ultimate act of social self-sabotage, and of course, she walks out, totally horrified.
So later, she rejects him for good over the phone. And right in this moment, Scorsese pulls off one of the most famous and psychologically revealing shots in the history of cinema. It's just genius.
As Travis is on the phone trying to plead his case, the camera literally gives up on him. It just drifts away from his painful conversation and settles its gaze on this empty, desolate hallway. It is such a strange and deliberate move. You're left thinking, wait, what's happening? So what does it mean? It means the camera itself is looking away as if his shame and his loneliness are just too painful to even watch. This is the exact moment that communication completely breaks down. The door to a normal life has slammed shut, and now the only path left for Travis is violence. This rejection pushes him into his final form.
Now, we're going to see how Travis finds a new, terrifying purpose in this twisted, corrupted American fantasy.
He completely reinvents himself. He's no longer a lonely cabbie. No, in his mind, he's a hero on a mission. He adopts the whole persona of a lone gunman, that classic American archetype from the Westerns who's going to single-handedly clean up the streets by force.
And this transformation is so methodical, it's chilling. First, he buys an arsenal of weapons. Then, he starts this intense, almost monk-like physical training regimen. And finally, he sheds his old identity completely by shaving his head into a mohawk, the look of a warrior ready for his final battle.
His first target is the presidential candidate, Palantine, the guy connected to Betsy's world. But when that assassination attempt fails, his violent obsession doesn't just go away. It just redirects. He shifts his focus to rescuing Iris, a 12-year-old prostitute he met earlier. And that just shows you how random and confused his so-called heroic mission really is.
All of this builds to the film's shocking climax and its deeply ironic ending, an ending that forces every single one of us to question what the word hero even means.
Travis storms the brothel, and what follows is a complete frenzy of hyper-violent carnage. The editing is jarring and chaotic, perfectly mirroring his total psychological collapse. And then Scorsese cuts to this, a chilling bird's-eye view of the aftermath, looking down on all the bloodshed with this cold, detached horror.
But then we get the film's most savage twist. Travis's bloody, chaotic rampage gets completely repackaged by the media. The headlines don't see a psychopath. They see a hero who fought gangsters to save a little girl. His violence isn't just excused, it's romanticized. It's unbelievable.
The film ends with Travis back in his cab. He's seemingly recovered, he's even being called a hero. But in the final moments, he glances into his rearview mirror, and for just a split second, that manic, crazy look returns to his eyes. And that leaves us with the film's final, chilling question. Is he actually cured? Or is he just a time bomb that's been reset, waiting to go off all over again?